And thank you everyone for joining in today. I'm extremely excited and happy. Thank you, Debashish and Chinmay and Rahul for having me as a part of this series. I'm extremely grateful. So thank you. On that note, Debashish, I'll start with your question first. So I basically started off my Salesforce journey back in 2008. I used to be I used to be a .NET developer back then, I had worked on a lot of other different technologies. I had worked on SAP BI. I had worked on business intelligence and data warehousing tools like Excelsius, DataStage, business objects. So I came with a lot of varied background. Salesforce, in fact, happened to me by chance. There was something that that my organization back then was starting off, especially on Salesforce, and not many people actually knew Salesforce back then. So when I first made the move, and people would ask me saying, "Hey Jigar, what do you work on? What are you doing in IT?" And I told them that, "Hey, I'm working on Salesforce." They actually thought that I'd taken up a job in sales, right? And they said, "Hey, why are you taking up a job in sales?" And then I should go back and explain to them, saying that, "Hey, it's not sales. It's actually a technology. It's actually a solution and does a lot." So that's when I kind of got started off, and from then onwards, my career has gone through lots of I've had a lot of different experiences to this ever-changing, ever-accepting, ever-growing ecosystem of Salesforce, and that's where I kind of landed here. To answer your second part of the question, Debashish, like how do you begin your Salesforce MVP journey? I think a lot of people have asked me, and I used to ask this back to people when I was like relatively new in this ecosystem. But I think nobody. I mean, you definitely feel good, and I'm very grateful that the ecosystem has recognized me, and bestowed upon me this title, and very very thankful to people who believed in me. But I don't think MVP is Salesforce MVP is a destination. You don't target being an MVP, right? I think it starts with it starts with the pure joy of giving back, and I think there are different people, a lot of amazing people across the globe in this ecosystem who give back in a lot of different ways. So I think you start with that. That is what the true pleasure and the joy is. It could be knowledge, it could be time, it could be mentoring, it could be helping people with products, with books. It could be helping people in their career journey. So n number of ways. I see a lot of people giving their time from a non-profit perspective, where they make a difference to the community. So I think it is that joy of giving which kind of gets you started, and along the journey, right? At some point in time, you get realized, or you get recognized as an MVP. So I don't think anybody or any MVP in the world would say that, "Hey, I started, or I wanted to become an MVP." I think that's precisely how I would put it. So MVP is not the destination; is rather the byproduct of the journey that you are into. So that's how I actually kind of started, and that's where I am becoming an MVP.
Yeah, it's all about the way you help the community, the way you guide the people, or the way that to the community. So that recognition to you, it's not okay. Somebody want to be MVP, they do this one. It's about you do your job, you then help the community to grow. Definitely, people will say, "Yeah, I know MVP, I know Jigar who helped me this way. He's just most important person in my life. Okay, who make or who helped me to make my careers." So that way we get recognized. That's the thing. And one more thing, see, like many persons or many trailblazers, you see the new trailblazers, they are coming up with the from different technologies. Okay, and they say, okay, we get the challenges, or we get like from one to work. So that is going to be the one more challenging part for them. So do you feel such kind of thing, like when in the back 2008 you are coming up from .NET to Salesforce, or like how you want to explain to the new trailblazers who are coming to the Salesforce from different technology would follow?
Right. First of all, the time when I started with Salesforce, it used to be a CRM solution. One of the things that I want to, kind of tell everybody and anybody who's in the Salesforce ecosystem or is aspiring to become a part of this, I think Salesforce has evolved over a period of time, just from being a simple CRM solution to becoming a business continuity solution. And when I talk about business continuity, there are many aspects to it, right? There is, and it each spans across a different function or need of an organization or a business, right? So primarily, I think when you are looking out, because a lot of people, come ask me saying that, hey, I want to become a part of the Salesforce ecosystem. And when I ask them, hey, said, why do you want to do that? I think a lot of people ask me, tell me is, hey, there's a lot of money here. I'm going to be very candid here in this conversation. So, hey, there's a lot of money. Hey, there's a lot of, there's a lot of demand. It's good to be a part of that, right? But I think what is also important is understanding, where this ecosystem is kind of heading. When I started off, there were basically I think 2 or 3 products that used to be there in this whole Salesforce ecosystem, right? There used to be a Sales Cloud, a Service Cloud, and probably a platform, which used to be Force.com back then. Today there are like n number. So a good thing for people is one, identify a strength and interest, right? A lot of people ask me saying that, hey, I don't know how to code. Can I become a part of the Salesforce ecosystem? Or some people say that, hey, I am a functional guy and I want to become a part of Salesforce. How do I do that? So the good thing today is there is a very vast spread of Salesforce set of products, right? If you are somebody who is inclined towards marketing and come from a marketing background, you have the whole marketing stack of technology, right? If you are somebody who is a pure play developer who wants to work with, JavaScript and things like that, you have the whole Lightning platform to yourself. If you are somebody who's a more functional guy who wants to look at more implementations but be more client centric, then you have the whole consultant path, right? And then you have an array of products within that. If you come from an e-com background, there is a e-commerce path. So I think understanding that, first of all, identifying your interest. Second, identifying your strength and aligning both together helps you mark your sweet spot in this ecosystem. That's where you get started off. So I would say, don't get into the rat race. If somebody's doing X, somebody's becoming a developer, perhaps that's his choice, that is his interest, or that is his focus area. Not necessarily, you want to do that. You could. Everybody is original. Everybody has a lot of knowledge, lot of experience tied to them. So find your own, I would say, ikigai, right? I don't know if you know about this, but this is something that I read, and I really like this, and I hopefully try to follow it in my life. Ikigai is basically a Japanese philosophy. So basically, what it entails is, you kind of find an accurate balance between what you love, what you can make money from, what you're passionate for. You kind of find the center, and that's what is your ikigai. So I would say find your ikigai, and there is a lot of opportunity to do that. A lot of people who are open to help you also. So I think there's tremendous potential, tremendous opportunity in this ecosystem today.
Yes, absolutely sounds perfect. Like as you said, it's one umbrella where anybody can fit in any role. Without don't know code, you can work in Salesforce. You are full of techie, you can work it. You know only project management, you can do it. You are a pure play business analyst, you can do it. Whatever role you come up, you are fit in the Salesforce umbrella. That's absolutely correct. Okay. Yes, and like okay, we have some questions from chat also, that also we can go through. Few of the questions. Okay, I think I'm currently having 5 years of experience in Java, working for banking application. Now, if I want to switch to Salesforce, is completing Salesforce developer module through Trailhead? Oh, okay, like from where I can learn and I can do. If I have Java experience, I want to go. Should I follow only Trailhead, or how can I start it off? It's a question from Radhika.
Okay. Hey Radhika, nice to meet you, and thank you for the question. I will and precisely. Hey Debashish, I'm getting a lot of background noise. Not sure if it's at your end. Thanks for that. So precisely, I think. See, one thing you want to understand is any kind of technology or any kind of skill takes time to develop and master, right? While you may be able to acquire the knowledge, it has to be backed up with experience. And when I say experience, practical application of the concepts that you have learned, right? When you do your trailheads, great resource, and I think Salesforce ecosystem as a whole has a lot of great resources. At least if I compare it to the time when I started with Salesforce, where there were only there used to be a concept of a cookbook or a workbook, which used to be that back then. I think today there is a lot of content, lot of great content around each product. So that is one. Second, I think when you come with a certain experience, and I say purely practical project experience, I think it is of essence that you map that to your Salesforce learning. So for example, if you are coming with experience in banking, and if you're, let's say, learning about Sales Cloud on Trailhead, you would want to map saying how a sales cycle would typically work in a banking vertical, right? And then based on that, I think that is where you get a lot of understanding in terms of how this solution really works, or where it actually fits in. Now, if you want to get practical knowledge, I think there are a lot of opportunities. I have, and some of these I have seen is a lot of people who probably are working in a consulting firm or an IT firm and who have a parallel Salesforce practice. Sometimes you do have the opportunity to go back and make a switch to Salesforce, to the Salesforce practice. So that is one of the areas where you do have the opportunity. Second, there are a lot of open source projects in and around Salesforce, right? For example, PMD. I'm sure developers who write code, they must be using PMD. PMD is Programming Mistakes Detector. It's a static code analyzer used for Apex. And it's grammar driven, right? But that is a byproduct of a lot of people contributing over Git. It is an open source project started by somebody from the community, and I think it's achieved a lot in its whole lifespan. So I think these are other areas where you can actually go and get practical exposure to contribute to the community. See, there are a lot of avenues like the developer community, the Trailblazer community, the Stack Exchange of Salesforce. I think there are a lot of amazing questions that come up and a lot of amazing answers that people give. Being a very active member of those ecosystems also helps you gain a lot of practical hands-on knowledge, because the questions asked there are very, very scenario driven. It is actually somebody who's working on a project, he's facing an issue and he's trying to seek help from the global Salesforce ecosystem. So I think that, and last, given the way the Salesforce ecosystem is structured, right, it's focused on giving back. I think there are you can always go and find pro bono projects, Salesforce projects that you can help with, right? So I think, given a mixture of this, it helps you build your theoretical aspect, or helps you gain theoretical knowledge, practical knowledge in terms of actually doing coding and practicing. But at the same time, it also gives you a first-hand project experience. And believe me, there are so many people who are willing to give you a chance if you just go and ask, saying that, hey, I might not know everything about Salesforce, but I'm willing to help you on this project. There are a lot of non-profits who are there who are open to giving you a chance. So I think these are some avenues that I at least believe can help you gain a lot of practical exposure on the Salesforce side beyond your theoretical and reading and trailheads.
That's exactly what you said. That's exactly happening in the Salesforce ecosystem. If somebody wants anything, they can ask, okay, I want to get some knowledge, or I want to implement a project. There are many sources like Trailhead. You can see many projects are there. You can do the badges, and many blogs also you can see where you can get a lot of knowledge, like not only theoretically, but with the implementation you can get. Yeah. And we have one more question from Sarita. See, if somebody in the starting of the career that they are thinking it will be easy to move to Salesforce. If somebody having a 15 years of experience or 13 years of experience in some other technology, so is it good time to move to Salesforce, or like how they will choose this path?
Okay. This is also a common question that a lot of people ask, especially because the way the Salesforce ecosystem is kind of spreading. A lot of people around the globe with varied experience, be it IT experience, non-IT experience, want to become a part of this ecosystem. Now, one of the bigger decision-making points in anybody's career is, and especially with this kind of experiences, because you have commitments and financial commitments, and there is a lot of go no go call in terms of saying that, hey, I have an X amount coming to me. Is that going to be the same if I move to Salesforce? It's definitely a great ecosystem to be, but at this point in time, I may not command the same same kind of CTC when I move to Salesforce. Or if you're if you're kind of really lucky, or everything's working out in your favor, then you probably get an equivalent salary. But I think I understand where you guys are coming from. So like I said, you don't need to wait for the right time. If you believe that it is the right time, it is now, right? And this is for anything in life. I think that's what I've always thought of. If you want to do something, I think the simple rule is to just get started, and there is no right time to it. It is now. So I think if you want to make a switch to a career in Salesforce, it is now. And if you really want to do it, you will definitely find out options, and you will be able to make a switch in that career. Yes, at first the path is a little difficult, or it appears as a little difficult because of a lot of other factors. But I think eventually, but that is momentarily. So when answering Sarita's question, yes, great time. I don't think there can be a better time to be a part of Salesforce than now, right? Second, you come with a great, a lot of background of open source systems like PHP and Drupal and CMS. So I think, and this is my observation, like all of the people who are who acquired some knowledge in the Salesforce ecosystem, or are doing well in their careers in the Salesforce ecosystem, at least people who are known in the ecosystem, very few of them I know kind of started in Salesforce. Everybody came from a different background, right? Somebody came from an ecom background, a Java background, somebody came from a .NET background, somebody came from a BI background. So I think it is always an edge that you have, because you have a wider understanding of the spread of systems and technologies. I think like Bruce Lee put it, be like water. So if you're in the cup, you become the cup. If you're in the bowl, you become the bowl. If you're in the vase, you become the vase. So I think you should be more free flowing and accepting, because the more technologies that you get exposed to, wider and broader is your understanding, and there is a lot of maturity in the way you design your solutions and the way you actually also learn a technology. So I think anybody who's got any kind of experience, right? Phenomenal. I mean, you guys are carrying a rich treasure. Leverage it. It's always good to have that.
So I know this thing. Okay, I'm a 13 years of experience. Should I switch, or can I get the co-op of Salesforce? Definitely, yes, you can do. You have a lot of knowledge. As you said, you have wider vision. So what you did in 13 years, that experience will help you to grab this Salesforce easily. Like when I was working in .NET in my starting of career, and then I moved to Salesforce in 1.5 years of experience. That time, I am not so much expertise either in .NET or either in Salesforce or nor in the business knowledge. Okay, then I have to struggle a lot to understand it. But if right now, if I'm working, if I go to any technology, I can easily grab it. So if you are more experienced, then it's more easy for you to understand it. Okay, now you can easily cope in the market. I think also. Okay, that's the point you said. So you have a wider vision. Right now, it's time you keep yourself here. Then you will make yourself like that. Like water in the cup, it's cup. Okay.
Correct.
So,
yes.
Jigar, we are getting similar questions like, so what is the scope of freshers? Like, if they wanted to come to Salesforce, or someone asked like, what to learn if they, just after college, once pass out from the college, so how to enter into Salesforce for them, whether it is BA line or like admin, or what to learn so that they can easily get the job. Similar questions were there.
Okay. This is a very broad question. I'll try my best to put an answer to that. First of all, I think when you think of roles like BA or maybe an architect or those, or a consultant kind of a role. I think those roles are more experience-driven roles rather than skill-based. This is my personal opinion. And what I've seen in my span of career so far, it is always good to become whether it is a developer or an admin who knows or who's had some bit of experience with some of the underlying technologies. And not necessarily, when I say technology, it could also mean that you may not have exposure to coding, and that's okay, right? Because that is another myth, and that's a different question. I'll answer it separately. But I think once you've done that and you've become a part, and I think the idea is that you should gain experience while doing that. And when I say experience, to me is you being able to know 10 different things in every opportunity or every project that you do, right? So first of all, don't tie yourself to anything, because the moment you start saying that, hey, I want to become a BA, you've already drawn the boundary among around you, and you are limiting yourself. So don't do that, right? Second, only when you do a life cycle implementation, right? And when I say life cycle, not necessarily always mean a greenfield development, fresh development implementation. It could be a support engagement. It could be anything, but it is new for you. Grab it, because every experience teaches you a lot. And we as people, we don't understand or realize it at that point in time. But when you look at it in hindsight, I think it is those experiences that help you grow in your career, right? So try to experience as much as possible, whether it is a support, it is an implementation, it is an integration with Salesforce, it is just an admin role, it is a large customer, it is a small customer. Everything, I think everybody should experience that, because unless you do that, you're not able to differentiate why, how a certain solution fits during a practical project implementation. So I think it's that. And second, I see a lot of questions, especially from freshers, saying that, hey, should I become a Java developer? Should I become a .NET developer? Or should I become a Salesforce developer? Because naturally today Salesforce, ecosystem is booming, and a lot of people want to become a part of this booming ecosystem because, of course, they can command better salaries, or there is a higher market value to it, right? Now, that being said, I don't think you should just become a part of this ecosystem for that. I think you should become a part of anything, primarily if it interests you. And then you also got to understand today how IT as a domain or as a vertical has matured. Okay, probably we all started our IT career in the early 2000s, but just for people, I see a lot of younger crowd. IT was there since 70s, right? I mean, there used to be punch cards. You got to understand how it has evolved, right? Today, any customer that you go and talk to and you tell them that, hey, this is going to be, the implementation is probably going to take 3 years. He's going to walk out of the room and he's going to say, perhaps you've gone bonkers, because every business wants to scale faster. Every business wants to innovate faster. And the only way for them to do that is to look at rapid development tools or rapid development solutions who help them, which are there, but help them tailor and build and innovate faster. And that is precisely, I think, the reason for also Salesforce's success, is where they have been able to bridge and minimize this gap, right? Perhaps if you said that the project would take 3 years back in 90s, it would be okay, right? And SAP implementation would go on for that time, like when people started there, if it would be a greenfield SAP implementation, but that's not how it is today. So I think it's more important to understand that the way your IT as a domain has shifted, and how you can really leverage this to your advantage, or I would say how you can align yourself and identify your interest area in this complete landscape, and then build mastery and skills around that particular thing. So and I mean, forward answer to this saying that, hey, should I do this versus that? I mean, I've seen people being happy and earning more even in a non-Salesforce technology. But yes, purely because of the way the IT is structured today, I think that's where Salesforce has a lot of leverage. But like I said, Salesforce is not the answer to every IT solution. There are a lot of solutions beyond Salesforce which are there, but definitely Salesforce has carved out a niche in its own space, and that's where it's the best at what it does. So just like Salesforce, you could do the same thing for yourself, and you could be the best at what you do. So I believe it's more about what you enjoy and what you like.
That's absolutely.
And what is the scope? I mean, opportunity for a fresher in Salesforce?
I think there are tremendous opportunities, right? And I see a lot of companies, hiring talent, which is very Salesforce driven, or in fact, I don't know how many of you know about it, but Salesforce itself runs this program, and I contribute to that program, it's called as Journey to Salesforce. I don't know if a lot of people have heard about it, but Journey to Salesforce is an amazing program that Salesforce itself runs, where you could go to Journey to Salesforce site and join the program there. It comprises of a set of trails which are very carefully crafted, where you move from basic understanding of what the Salesforce platform or solution is all about to the more complex side, I would say, or to the advanced side. And while you do this, they also have a lot of sessions with industry experts or people who actually do Salesforce implementations, right, where they come and talk about it, and they provide provide people with the opportunity to connect with employers in your local your local geography or local region. So I think there's tremendous opportunity. So if you've not heard about Journey to Salesforce and you want to become a part of it, just go to the Journey to Salesforce website. You can search for Journey to Salesforce on Google, and that's the the first link that appears is the actual salesforce.com/journey to Salesforce link, and that is what I'm talking about. And it's a free sign up. It's a very carefully crafted program, and I think that's where you kind of start off your journey, and that eventually leads you also to potential employers. So I think it's not only about learning or giving you the opportunity to learn, but it also gives you the opportunity to become a part of organizations who are doing Salesforce, and where they seek talent like you. So I think it's more about that. So tremendous opportunity, like I said.
So we have one more question. Like, what are the challenges you faced while switching from .NET to Salesforce developer? From Kumar Swami, I guess.
Okay. It just makes me recall of those days. So when I kind of started Salesforce, there was no Trailhead. We were, I had somebody help me with a little bit of understanding of Apex and Visualforce. So basically, this was the time when Visualforce was new, just like Lightning Web Components is new today. And S Controls was being phased out. So there used to be a technology called as S Controls. Not many of you know about it. And it used to be a Salesforce technology. It used to be JavaScript based. And Salesforce had phased out S Controls and kind of moving to Visualforce. So I think when you come from a different technology background, you carry the goods and the bads of that, right? So essentially, in any technology like a .NET or Java, you don't have anything called as governor limits, right? And Salesforce was one such thing which had governor limits, and I had never heard about it. So probably when I started off, it was difficult for me to grasp that concept of how or why a developer should really look or know governor limits, and how it really impacts your performance or program throughput. I didn't really have an understanding of that, and it took me a while to wrap my head around it and say that, hey, this is needed, and perhaps this is the reason why when you start building things on Salesforce, you become a better developer, because now you are operating within the constraints, or I would say the boundaries of the platform or the solution. So that was one of the areas where I had a challenge. And the second being, I think when we start off as developers in any technology, I think we're very, very development centric, and I failed to understand that Salesforce, though it is a great development platform and gives you all the amazing set of tools, it is more than anything a business continuity solution. And if you don't understand what business it is catering to, or why why a certain product or a certain aspect of the platform is being used in conjunction with the business need, I think it is difficult to grow to the next level, and I think that's true even today. So that was another thing. Eventually I did understand that, hey, understanding a business, right? Because so that you can actually go out and map these things. And back then there were not a lot of Salesforce documentation which was available. There were workbooks, and we used to go out and read only a lot of actual platform documentation to figure out things which would things like methods or how certain things can be used on a platform. So I think those were there, and I'm glad I experienced those, because I think if I look at hindsight, in hindsight, those were the things that helped me become a better solution provider to my customers today. So yeah, I think those are the challenges that I faced during my career, or transition from one technology to another.
Yeah, Jigar, that's absolutely correct. So one thing we are getting in many documentation for Salesforce, but that time, like I was doing in the that time also, like we get a PDF and we go through that PDF only. So we don't get these trailblazers, the trailhead, all the stuffs are not there. But it was really interesting that time also. Yeah. And someone have questions like uh, during this COVID, many companies are like cutting down the how I can scale up my profile to get something in good. So that's like again a common question. Yeah.
Right. See, I think I want to start with a very simple situation that each of us faces, right? And I know pandemic has been bad. A lot of people have gone through tough times, and a lot of for everybody who's through tough times. And I know this has been there. But I think COVID or not, no COVID, I think there is one key thing that we as individuals, a lot of times miss out on. Perhaps if I ask you, Debashish or Chinmay, saying that how many times have you, bought a new pair of shoes or new pair of clothes, or anything new in the past period of pandemic? I'm sure you have. The answer would be that, hey, I've bought a ton of stuff. It could be from Amazon. It could be from yeah. So I think my question here is, if we can spend money to invest in stuff which can, which we want, right? It could be clothes, it could be perfume, anything, any materialistic. How many times do we take out the time to understand what should we do to invest in ourselves? I think that that aspect is critical, and that thinking has to exist, whether it is pandemic or no pandemic. Because unless you invest in yourself, I don't think anybody is going to grow, right? You got to keep learning, and learning comes in a lot of different ways. So I think that is the first thing. The mindset of being able to invest in yourself has to be predominant, right? Unless that is there, I don't think anything moves forward. Second, like I said, there is so much of scope in each area, right? In fact, if I look at it, earlier it was just sales service, right? Today, if you're very familiar with the sales cycle, you could become a sales cloud consultant. If you are a very you work in a quotation or a price quotation domain, you could be a CPQ specialist, right? You have e-commerce and you come from that background, you could be an e-commerce expert, like B2B commerce or B2C commerce, right? So that I think is, come from a marketing background, you have marketing. So it would be unfair to say that, hey, if you do this is better versus this is not bad. This is not going to give you benefits. I think any skill or anything that you invest in will help you grow, provided one, where the need is for that specific area or that specific skill, and you yourself are a master. So don't quantify it with number of years of experience or number of certifications that you have. At the end of the day, you should be able to solve a problem. So I think that's critical. And I think with Salesforce, with the Salesforce ecosystem, I see this day in and day out. And I am 16x certified, I'm 18x certified, and by no means I am disrespecting those who have their certifications. It takes a lot of resilience, a lot of persistence, a lot of hard work to be certified, right? But I don't think that has to be the yardstick to measure one's ability to be able to you know, master something or have that mastery over a certain area. I mean, I've seen people who are not certified, but you know, can do a phenomenal job at implementing a product or implementing a solution, you know, in the Salesforce ecosystem. So I think it's that. So I think don't chase uh, you know, all those you know, bells and whistles. It's good to say that I'm X certified. It's good to say I'm a ranger, but I think at the crux is you know, what is the knowledge that you have, and that is, you know, you yourself are, you know within yourself, right, that what is the knowledge that you have. And if you have that, I think, be it be any domain, I think you'll not only do well, you'll like scale, you'll grow. So yeah.
Absolutely correct. Like everyone is the master of themselves, and they know, like they can judge themselves what they and where they need to fine tune or what they can get from it. And it's not only certifications, but the knowledge what really you have that matters. I may have 18 certifications, but I don't know how to design a solutions. They have certifications. If I
That's
have
correct.
certifications, I have knowledge, then I can sign wherever I can go. Yeah. I think we have answered most of the questions posted. Okay, and as we have again the time limit. Okay, so if any other questions we have, I like anyone can chat in LinkedIn or Twitter anywhere. And also for the attendee, we have the quiz where we can run a small quiz about the MPP program and about the Jigger, and then we can distribute some certification vouchers as we committed. So I'll hand over to Chinmay. Chinmay, you can run through it.
Thank you, Debasis. Thank you, Jigar.
Thank you so much.
So let me share my screen.
Because I saw somebody posted the question for the voucher. So I thought we should run it first.
So Debasis, are you able to see my screen?
Yes, we can see now.
Okay. I hope everyone is able to see my screen. And so all of you just download the Kahoot app from App Store or Play Store, or you can run it from the browser as well. And one game pin will be generated now. So
Give everyone 2 minute time to
yeah,
set the pin. Okay, then we can.
you can take time, and meanwhile you can download the app, or you can just join from the web. So the game pin is 9707274. So just give your proper name, like do not give single name. Like, so as of now we are good with names.
So that easily you can identify and share that voucher with you over the email.
We are having 24 now. So we will wait for 1 more minute. The count is 31, and hopefully it is 32. So Devasi, shall we begin now or
Yes, we can begin.
okay, I guess someone left. Maybe you can give 15 more seconds. Okay, so we'll just start now.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first question is, what is the full form of MVP? Most valuable player, maximum viable participant, most viable player, most viable participant. And we have 20 answer, 24. And the correct answer is most valuable player. And let's go to the second question. And now the Ramandeep is the first, Goran is second, and Samik is third. Second question. How should you nominate as a MVP? Expertise, leadership, generosity, all of the above. We have 24 answers, 27. So the correct answer is D, all of the above. And almost all people have done the correct answers. So let's see. Now Ramandeep is first, Samik is second, Rupesh is third. So third question, true or false? Public vote is required for Salesforce MVP selection. So the correct answer is true, and again Ramandeep is in the top, and Samik is second, Bharat is in third. Salesforce MVP is valid for how many period? 1 year, 6 months, 2 year, 5 years. So the correct answer is 1 year, and we have 23 people corrected the answer. And again, Ramandeep is third, Bharat is second, Saifuddin is third. Current Salesforce production release: Summer 21, Winter 21, Spring 21, none of these. So 12 people corrected the answer, and again Ramandeep is in first, Vinit is second, and Magesh is third. Where is the headquarters of Salesforce?
I hope this one will all give correct answer. I hope.
Yeah, I hope. So the
Most
San
of
Francisco,
yes.
California was the second answer. Yeah, most all of them are correct. And again, Ramandeep is the first answer, Vinit second, Magesh third. And after Spring 20 release cycle, all certifications require completion of one or more maintenance module for how many period? So it's 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, or 3 year. So the correct answer is 1 year. What is the name of our MVP today? It is very easy question.
This will be answered by all correct.
Yeah.
I'm keeping my fingers crossed.
Definitely, all answers will be correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. So Vinith is top, Ramandeep is second, and Saifuddin in third.
We'll
And
get more
current
questions. Yeah.
MVP office hour. So the correct answer is first and third Friday of each month. And Vinith is in first, Manoj is second, Ramandeep is in third. So the last question, what is the initial phase of MVP selection? And the correct answer is Salesforce community nominations. So let's see. The third is Manoj. Congratulations, Manoj. Second is Magesh. Congratulations, Magesh. And first is Vinith. Congratulations, all of you. Just share your email ID, and just now only just share your email ID in the chat window. And again, congratulations to all of you.
Congratulations, guys.
Yep. And I would love to thank you, Jigar, for your time. We know your time is so precious, and the way you give the back to community, help the people. That's why we are able to get your time in the weekend, and a lot of knowledge we got from you, lot of inspiration, motivations, maybe to start a career in Salesforce or maybe to grow in the same career. So that kind of motivations makes the new persons or new people who are joining the community or who already there, they want to grow, they'll get a lot of ideas or they'll get a lot of knowledge how they can do kind of motivations you give. So that's really, we learn a lot from you. Okay. And from the Salesforce Developer Group Bhubaneswar, we really thanks you from our bottom of heart, and definitely we'll connect again and again to have more sessions, and there will be some more technical sessions. We'd love to invite the way you present, the way you give to the community. We'll take that benefit to showcase to our community completely. Yep.
Thank you, Debashish. Thank you for your kind words, and thank you, Chinmay and Rahul, for having me here. Thank you, everyone, today. I know everybody's going through a tough time. Monday to Friday, remote calls, a lot of different situations. But I think I'm glad that you guys were able to take out the time from your busy lives to become a part of this session. So thank you. It is always a pleasure to come back and speak at any community event across the world. I think it is the same warmth and love that I get across. So thank you, and believe me, when I come and become a part of such sessions, it is me who goes back motivated, and you guys keep me inspiring to do more beyond what you just said. So I think it's more of that. And the learning is mutual, I think. So thank you, and I look forward to more such sessions. And by the way, because this was an MVP series, we had, in fact, one MVP joining at the start beyond, other than me, and then at the end we had two MVPs. I don't know. So there is Carlos, who's he's joining us from Tampa, Florida, in US. That's like early morning from him. So Carlos, hi, good to see you. Hope you're doing well, buddy, and thank you for joining. Rupesh Bhatia, I know you. A lot of you may have heard his name from the Indian ecosystem. he was also a part. So, thank you. Good to meet you guys. And I think that even the broader audience. So thank you once again. Very grateful to all of you.
Yeah, thank you. And very soon we'll plan to connect with the Rupesh and the Carlos to make some sessions to learn from them. That's on like we are in the plan for that. For it. Yep.
Sure.
Yep. Thank you everyone for joining. We'll meet again soon with the more technical topics and with our this Chat with MVP series. We started with Jigar, but we'll touch with everyone very soon.